Hello, I'm Valla Roth, the Director of Communications at Decision Insight in the U.S. I'm here to present Measuring the Power of Social Influence at the Shelf. Our world is changing. As we all know, our world is changing in many ways. In the past, key influencers were friends and close family. We learned about brands from traditional media, such as TV, print, and radio. Messages were about the key benefits of the brand or how it's better, cheaper, or faster than competition. Now, the social influence of weaker ties, powered by social media, is much more relevant today. We are now using the wisdom of the crowd to help us decide what to buy or what to do. And it is less about the brand or what our immediate friends and family say. It's more about the broader world. How many of you have read an online review before making a big purchase? How many of you have posted your comments online about a good or bad experience? How many of you have read or write blogs yourself? If I could see you, I bet nearly all of you would have raised your hand to at least one of these three questions. That's the power of social media. Let me give you an example. When school teacher Mrs. Q in the U.S. forgot her lunch one day, she had no idea she was about to embark on an odyssey to uncover the truth about public school lunches. Shocked by what her students were served, she resolved to eat school lunch every day for an entire year, chronicling her experience anonymously on a blog that was initially read by only her mother and sister. But due to others sharing the URL and sending tweets, within a month she was totally amazed that she was receiving thousands of hits daily and was lauded by many food activists such as Mark Bittman and Jamie Oliver. She was also asked to speak to various health professionals, including a conference sponsored by the Mayo Clinic. The publicity from her blog, called FedUpWithLunch.com, led her to write a book that came out this past fall. This could only have happened with social media, the engine that drove awareness of the issue and the spark that ignited to fuel the cause. Carolyn Everson from Facebook talks about the power of social media. She says that everything is better when your friends have a say, from deciding what to wear, where to eat, and what to buy at the store. There's no denying that social media is changing our lives. So with this background in mind, we asked ourselves a very fundamental question. How do people make decisions? While many of us claim to be health conscious, when faced with a choice, more often than not, we may care to admit we'll choose the donut instead of the apple. This is where behavioral economics comes in. Traditional economists have always based decision-making on a very rational approach, as you well know, on the expected value and marginal utility, if that rings a bell from an economics course from way back. However, more recently, behavioral economists have been studying human behavior and counter the rationalist approach by recognizing that social, cognitive, and emotional factors are better predictors of human behavior than purely rational ones. These are especially true when we have a limited time and we have social pressures to conform. As such, they've identified distinct patterns that are more universal and part and parcel of the human condition. So we felt that further exploration of these principles that shape decision-making is crucial to help manufacturers better understand how to market their products. Much research has been conducted in this area. Academics like Dan Ariely and social scientists like Martin Lindstrom and Robert Cialdini have reframed the way we think about decision-making. While the research has supported the behavioralist position, we asked ourselves, how can we apply this learning to better understand how consumers make purchase decisions at the shelf and also to make it actionable for marketers? So we had some high aspirations. We said to ourselves, wouldn't it be great if we could be more certain of how shoppers make decisions and be able to translate that knowledge across multiple situations and be able to identify universal key shopper marketing principles to influence shopping behavior in our favor? Well, Those were pretty lofty goals, but we were willing to give it a try. This Kindle ad that ran during the 2010 holiday season sparked our thinking. What's striking is that usually when you see messaging for a high-tech new product, they speak to their performance or their reliability. Words like faster than, longer than, better than, and the like. Very attribute-based, very much about the facts. But this ad doesn't do it at all. But when you think about the context and the target, it makes a lot more sense. The Kindle people are speaking to those searching for the perfect holiday gift for someone they care about. What's the biggest worry when you buy a gift for somebody? Well, will they like it? So would a performance message be effective? Probably not. How about a message saying that others like it and that others want it? Well, that might be better, especially for a product still quite new to the market, one at the time without a lot of knowledgeable buyers or users. So, being good researchers, this made us curious. In what other instances might this type of social influence messaging be effective? So we wondered, could we create a higher level of shopper engagement by simply altering the message in the aisle? To test our hypothesis, we tested two types of messaging, social influence and benefits messaging, in 3 different packaged goods categories using SimuShop, our online virtual shopping platform. Our key question was, when and how do these message types impact shopper purchasing at the store? So we designed a simple experiment. We created pairs of messages in 3 different categories, razors, liquid soap, and pasta. These are quite different categories, food versus non-food, more expensive, well, at least for a grocery store, and less expensive. We created benefit messages for each brand focusing on the performance of the product, such as effortless glide for razors or fights grease for dish soap. We also created social influence messaging tapping into the notion of the wisdom of the crowd, such as America's favorite dish soap or the pasta most moms trust. So the key question we sought to answer was, which messaging type is most effective at the point of purchase? So to conduct this study, we created an online virtual grocery store using SimuShop, our validated virtual shopping platform. Nearly 1,000 respondents across the U.S. virtually shopped 3 categories, pasta, liquid soap, and razors. Each respondent saw the social influence or the benefit signage at the shelf when shopping these 3 categories. They saw one of the message types, not both. Then finally, at the end of the study, after the virtual shopping, the shoppers compared the POS side by side and told us which one they preferred. So the next slide here is just a little encapsulation of how the virtual shopping works. What they do is they enter a virtual store via a little video we show them on the computer. Then we take them to the aisle where they shop as they would in real life, interacting with the various shelf variations. And on screen 2, you can actually see, if you look carefully, the signage for the dish soap. Then on slide 3 here, you can see where they can zoom in and they can scroll and move up and down the aisle as they wish to look at the products and signage, taking as much time as they like. Then they can click on any item of interest to them, look at it more carefully, see the price point more carefully, and then they decide if they want to buy it or put it back on the shelf. And that's how we collected our data and how virtual shopping works. So, what did we learn? Well, first, let's start with dish soap and pasta. Which message type led the respondents to put more of the advertised products in their baskets? Here we're looking at the less expensive products. We're talking $2 to $3 price points here. Well, what we found here, well, first take a look at what our actual messaging was. The dish soap, it was the power to fight grease, or is it America's favorite dish soap that is more convincing? Or for pasta, the question was the healthiness you need, the taste you love as a benefit message, or is the social influence message of the pasta most moms trust, is that one more motivating? is that there are no differences between the social influence and the benefit messages in these two categories for these two brands. It didn't matter which message they saw. Our shoppers put the same amount of Barilla, the same amount of Dawn in their virtual shopping carts. And above and beyond that, perceptions of the brands were the same, regardless of the message type. There was a difference, though. When we gave them a choice, shoppers overwhelmingly say they prefer a benefit message. Now remember, this is what they say. But their behavior tells us there's no difference. It's another example of what they say versus what they do, telling us different stories. So with this learning so far, we can't rule out social influence messaging since there's no difference in shopping behavior, which is a more important component to look at than a stated preference. So with this in mind, we decided to take a look at our third and our more expensive category, razors. In this category, we featured both men's and women's razors. And keep in mind, these are $12 to $15 brands on the higher side for what you'd see in a grocery store. Again, we created social influence and benefit messages. For the men's product, it was effortless glide versus the shape most men prefer. And for women, it was for closer, smoother shaves as a benefit message against the message of the razor most women trust as a social influence message. We had a hypothesis, and it was that non-users, who by definition have less information than users, may be more attracted to social influence messaging. Looking at the quote above, when a situation is unclear, it is similar to being a non-user. These non-users may be more apt to look to others to decide what to do and what to buy. In other words, be persuaded by social influence messaging. On the other hand, reinforcing brand benefits may be the right strategy for users to show them that they made the right choice to enhance repeat behavior and loyalty to the brand. And Cialdini, in his book, gives us a hint that we may be on the right track. So we dug a little deeper. And that's what we found. The social influence message resonates more with non-users. And conversely, the benefit message resonates more with users. In fact, benefit messaging resonates with 2 out of 3 Gillette users, while social influence messaging resonates with 2 out of 3 Gillette non-users. A striking difference. So we were onto something. Looking more closely at the non-users, we saw that those viewing the social influence message rated Gillette more favorably on 2 key dimensions, made by a trusted brand and is the market leader. This implies that they are looking for some reinforcement from the crowd in order to purchase the product for the first time. They're more persuaded by it being from a known brand and being from a market leader. This leads us to the conclusion that when we aren't familiar with a brand as a non-user, we tend to look more to the outside, to social forces, to help us make decisions. It's about trust, believing in the market leader, and following the wisdom of the crowd. And this is especially true for more expensive brands when more is at stake. So a little experiment. How about this? What if you were the manager of a convenience store and wanted to increase sales of your pre-made sandwiches by bringing in new users? Do you think a simple sign saying, "Try our best-selling sandwich" could work? I bet it might. It's a simple application of the social influence behavioral principle, and simplicity can often be better. Now, admittedly, we're just scratching the surface here, and we know that there's more work to be done. This is a very simple example. But the overall thing is it's important to understand which principle you should be using under which circumstance. So what have we learned? The fundamentals of human behavior are the same, but our influencers have expanded. Social influence is even more relevant today. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all messaging. It's not only about brand benefits and claims. It's not only better than, faster than, less expensive than the competition. Shoppers and consumers are looking to the wisdom of the crowd to make purchase decisions, especially for first-time users. Based on what we saw in our virtual shopping experiment, as a marketer, you may want to consider social influence messaging for attracting new users and more traditional brand benefit messages to keep current users loyal to your brand. We've just scratched the surface of this fascinating science called behavioral economics, and more specifically, social influence. We learned something about 3 categories in the grocery store. But how does it play out in other categories? What about truly high-ticket categories, such as televisions? Or what about high-ticket categories where the brand makes a statement about you, such as automobiles? Would social influencing messaging be even more relevant to first-time buyers? We think it could be, but we don't know. We'd like you to share in this journey with us so that we can all move together and be smarter about how to market our products. Thank you very much.